Hi everyone. I am very distressed over some of the things that I'm hearing in the news, in the alternative media. There's some really prime examples of how not just our freedom is being eroded, but and common sense being thrown out the window, but how reality is really getting turned on its head in that there are more and more acts of like wholesome, sane, natural, just symbiotic kind of altruistic behavior is being turned on its head, and how there's now sort of a campaign on normal speech being, right now it's like recommendations of discouragement. I'll give it two examples that I'm thinking of currently. The first one has to do with a SWAT raid on a no-kill shelter in Wisconsin. And what this SWAT team was looking for, with guns drawn and everything else, was a fawn that, on an anonymous tip, always anonymous, from a concerned neighbor, that there was a fawn at this no-kill shelter. Like, so, and your point? So this SWAT team goes to the no-kill shelter, and it's this beautiful farm. If you took a look at it, it looks very humane. I mean, yes, the dogs are kept in cages, and they're probably allowed to run several times a day, and this is natural. I mean, there's only so much that the owners and managers of these businesses can do for the animals that others have discarded. But this farm was probably, had to be abandoned because the mother was killed. I'm not sure of the exact story. I think the mother, the doe, was hit by a car, killed. So, this fawn was brought to the shelter, and it was there for 2 weeks. It had a name. They called it Giggles, and it looked like it was very well cared for. And this SWAT team came to the shelter, sequestered everyone. Okay. Adults. They took adults, put them in an area, told them not to come near the fawn. They took the fawn, killed it, bagged it, threw it over their shoulder, left with it. The owner of the shelter asked, "Why did you shoot it? Why would you do such a thing?" "Well, that's our policy, sir." And so, if you can read between the lines here, not only was that an over-the-top, mentally ill, very deranged act, that law-abiding citizens, just people taking care of business, were all of a sudden had a SWAT team come in, take an animal that the worst it could do was probably kick you. Maybe bite you. If you're going to incite it, it's going to defend itself, and that's the only way it's going to bite you. But they walked in and they killed it and dragged it off, and thought it was a good idea to just terrorize these people. So that's one example of the continuing insanity. Now, you may have heard of SWAT raids now on Amish farms and organic farms. You may have heard of organic growers, having private parties that had these sick government minions that will come in and under threat of government action, tell them to dump all of their organic food. You need to look this stuff up for yourself. I've already viewed it. I've already read, the articles about it, and I'm surprised my jaw can still drop to the floor. But what happened to this fawn was a symptom, guys. There is a a bank robbery. Don't remember the state. Sorry about that. But there was a bank robbery, and there was a young black man, and I'm telling you his race because it was a black man that bought it. He goes to the door of the bank, not knowing it's been robbed. He was there to make a transaction. It was during business hours. Talk about the wrong place at the wrong time. So he walks to the door, tries to open it, and it's locked. And it was a police officer, I think, asked him, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I'm here to make a transaction." He says, "Can I see your ID?" And I do not know. The guy said, "No, you can't see my ID," which is like perfectly natural in a free society. It's like he didn't do anything wrong. He was going to take care of business. But, so according to the version of the police, it's like he gave a false ID and then he fled the scene. And the police officer commandeered a stranger's vehicle and caught up with this guy. And supposedly there was an argument that ensued, and the guy fled. And he was shot in the back of the head. No, not the throat. Forgive me, the back of the throat. And died. Yeah, what the hell. What really probably happened, and this is why it is so scary and so sickening, and it's because it's not only evil, it's twisted out the ass. That this guy was probably going to make a transaction, and he was asked for his ID, and he probably says, "No, I don't need to show you my ID," which is true. It's true. And he probably said, "Look, I'm not dealing with this. All I was trying to do was take care of my bank account." And he probably just walked away because the police officer probably was a rogue idiot from hell. Okay? I'm serious. Probably a rogue idiot from hell. And the police officer was probably calling him back, and the guy was just ignoring him, frightened. He's probably frightened at that point. Remember this. And then he fled. He probably was running for his life because he didn't know what just happened. You know what? I would act the exact same way. Exact same way. If I had a deranged cop, after I said, and I would say, "I don't need to show you my ID. I'm not doing anything. All I did was trying to make a transaction. And I'm sorry, the bank was closed. It was my mistake. I'm going to go home now." And if you have this sinister ass trying to lure you back because he wants to make trouble for your life, why would you want to go back? And this man is dead. He's dead. He was like in his 30s. So that's another precedent. That's another victim of this senseless, growing, dangerous thudlust, bunch of monsters that are now supposedly our police on the street. And it's getting more and more. I'm not saying there's not still a lot of good men and women out there. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is like policy. And then there's the case in Seattle where you cannot, by recommendation of the town hall, I guess in Seattle, not to use the words brown bag or citizen, because it might be offensive. Now, wrap your heads around that one, okay? Brown bag might be offensive because it might remind somebody of a brown person, and if a brown person is standing there and you were to say brown bag, you might hurt their feelings. And you can't use the word citizen because, I don't know, would there be a non-citizen or an illegal citizen standing next to you that maybe doesn't want to be reminded they're there illegally? Who knows? But it's like, these are major distractions against the rampant criminality at the highest levels of government. There are good men and women that are still in Congress, but the presidents that have been in office, probably all of them after John F. Kennedy, probably have been nothing but puppets that were installed. We thought we were voting and we thought we were making a difference, but no, it was a continuation of an agenda. I mean, it took me a few years to really understand this, wrap my head around it, and accept it for what it is. I mean, what I work to do is to change what I cannot accept, what I find really unacceptable. I mean, there was also an article, and I haven't looked at it yet because it makes me kind of physically ill to think about it. I mean, I've known about it for many months now, ever since Jimmy Savile died. But Jimmy Savile, who was a disc jockey in the UK, had carte blanche in any area of Buckingham Palace. He was like Prince Charles's best friend, was in close alliance with the Queen. And this guy was not only a pedophile, he had access to hospitals. He was procurer of children for the monarchy, and he was a necrophiliac. Those of you who don't know what a necrophiliac is, because I've brought this up to a couple people and they go, well, what is that? It's a person that screws the dead. They screw corpses. I mean, you know, you figure it out. I don't want to. But this guy's lair, as they called it, was thankfully something that is probably going to lead to many arrests. And what I've heard speculation as it being, and it's the same for like what happened to Pope Benedict. I mean, they're saying that he quit being Pope because he was like physically ill. And what it really is all about is it's a major blackmailing of the monarchy and of the Vatican, because of not only do they rape children over and over and over again, but they murder them, sacrifice them, drink their blood. And I wish I were making this up. I wish I was the mentally ill, deranged one, and you guys can go on ahead and think that, you know, I am, and that, you know, I'm just delusional. Go on ahead. But the sad reality is that it's true. And I have no idea. I mean, I just know from the outside looking in that this is what dominates the planet, because these people are fabulously wealthy. These people own plantations with castles and mansions the size of cities, and people don't understand this. You know, I've been to Buckingham Palace twice, and not only do you see the guards with the big bear fur hats, but up, you know, they're up against the palace, okay? But up at the gate, with the big wrought iron gate or whatever metal it is, you have a person with an automatic weapon, because these people know they're criminals. They know that they're you know, and they're brainwashed masses. The British people. I don't know what percentage they are, but it's just like people that think Obama still is some type of cool person, or that Bush was a good president, or Clinton, who signed NAFTA, who was absolutely decimated our infrastructure as far as manufacturing. You know, these brainwashed individuals still think in the UK, you know, or in the United States, that these people are somehow better than them. I mean, the Queen and this fawning over Prince William and what's her face and the new baby, it really turns my stomach when I hear women, because, you know, there are women that I hang out with on one level, but it's like if I open up my body of knowledge, their eyes either glaze over or that stupid little laugh comes over them. What is she talking about? And I don't say anymore because I know that I'm talking to walls. I'm talking to people that, whether it has to do with IQ or just the fact that all that interests them is glamour and celebrity. What do you do with that? But it's like this celebrity worship where Obama's concerned, where Prince William or what is her name, where all these people are concerned. If they knew, if they understood that these people would rather see them dead. You're worshiping them. Just it's Stockholm syndrome to the max. It's so sick, and it's like, but getting back to Jimmy Savile, thank God that they found his lair. I have no idea what device is. You gotta think of the UK and any form of torture device over the centuries. I've seen them displayed in more than one places in the United States and in Europe. No, I'm not well traveled in Europe yet, but I've been to England. And we're really talking about a very sick individual. And the first complaints against Jimmy Savile were in 1963. I was born in 62 myself. And there's 500 complaints or more since then. And the fucker continued. All I'm saying is this is what is running the world. And people should be taking it very, very seriously, and they need to get out of their trance, their stupor. They need to get proactive in one thing at least. I support the Oath Keepers, and I push for Glass-Steagall. And I used to be part of 9/11 Truth when I lived in Virginia. And I'm proud of those things. I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's like, it's like I do activism in different ways. And I've also, it doesn't matter. But if you got to pick at least one thing, whether it's Agenda 21 under the guise of sustainable development, under the guise of the Green Movement, or if you pick fighting genetically modified organisms, because that's the new food. It's what is her name? Dr. Rima. I don't remember her last name offhand. Forgive me. But it's like PHUDE, because it's not real food. It's not FOOD. It's not natural, organic. These are things that are spliced, corn with like insecticides, any number of things. The hormones that are pumped into cows, the splicing of genetic material into some of the fish we eat, the excrement that's actually fed fish in farms before we eat it. It's pretty disgusting. And in America, the biggest thing that we have still going for us, and people are they're so afraid of them, is gun rights. I have what I have to protect myself, and I think every woman should learn how to at least shoot a pistol. They should at least have one gun by their bedside. And I believe in concealed carry across the board. If there were teachers or janitors or the principal in any of these schools where these mass shootings have taken place, then the shooter probably wouldn't have gotten very far, because all you need to do is get in back of them and take off a shot. If you've got a concealed carry, even if there's more than one person with a concealed carry, That's going to deter people from coming onto your property, whether it's a school, a church, synagogue, a mall, it doesn't matter. Because they know somebody's going to come out of nowhere and shoot them to stop them, which means less death. Because criminals and tyrannical governments are always going to have guns. They're always going to have an arsenal. I mean, criminals, even just like lowly criminals, can get their hands on things like hand grenades, as well as like automatic weapons, not semi-automatic weapons, which is what the military and militias have. And we need to have a militia or a military with semi-automatic weapons. We still probably, if there's an all-out war here in the United States, which is a possibility, it's a real possibility, we still don't have as good a chance as those with automatic weapons. But, we have a right to defend ourselves. And and the thing is, we have a right, like that a handsome black guy just taking care of business. He's probably a gentleman. Who cares if the cop didn't like the fact that he didn't want to have his ID checked? This is supposed to be America. We need to remember that. He was just walking away. I don't want to give you my ID. I'm leaving now. He exercised his right so he gets the back of his neck blown in. This should terrify people. If you're not terrified, you're in a real zombie state. And you need to stop it. This is called incrementalism. And which means that things are going to get worse and worse over time. You don't want your rights eroded. We really need to reverse the trend. And the people that you see on television that you think are your leaders are nothing but criminals that would like to see you dead. And that's a fact. So that's enough for me. If like one or two people get something out of what I just said, great. I really wish that I could be heard more, because I'm not lying. And I love everyone. I can't say that I love the criminals, because they're doing what they're doing consciously, and it's abhorrent. But I want to see humanity thrive. That's why I push Glass-Steagall. That's why I push NWAPA, because that would bring water resources back into areas where we need irrigation desperately, and so agriculture would flourish again, along with other public projects. And then just to have this credit system where we have everything funded that we need. I don't know. I don't know why it's so hard to move forward on anything. I just see that the New World Order is marching very quickly. That's all.